Good morning. It's Fish the Beach Bum Investor with your cryptocurrency discussion report. 28th of March today, on the eve of zPOS, a new feature for PIVX, enabling you to stake your privacy coins, your zPIV. Now, there is a couple of important things to do to get ready for that. And one thing in particular is to convert your zPIV back to PIVX, back to regular PIV before tomorrow. So as soon as possible. Good day, Floyd. Just doing some housekeeping, guys. Slice Keeper, how are you on PIVX? So yeah, if you do want to convert your zPIV back into PIVX, the reason you've got to do that is because zPIV that's not converted into PIVX before the implementation of zPOS will not be eligible for staking after that implementation. So best to move it back into PIVX. You don't risk losing it if you don't. It just won't be eligible for staking. So if you do want to know how to turn your zPIV back into PIV, very, very simple. Just make sure you jump on the description of this video. I've linked up a video in there. I was going to make my own, but there's a really, really good one. It takes it's a 4-minute video, but the process itself takes a minute. So jump on there and check it out. Yeah, and Nige makes a good point. 5295 on the Satoshi count for PIV, up 12%. And while you're on the point, Nige, I wasn't going to talk about it. I wasn't, but since you brought it up, cheeky little, I just, you know, a surfer's call is you should have been here yesterday, right? Let's have a look at yesterday's stream for the people who were here.
Squeeze out every minute bit that you can. But if you can see here, if I line up with the most, where this wick comes down, just over here, see the bottom of this wick, it lines up very well with the bodies of these candles on the previous lows. So I think this could act as a level of support.
Bang, nailed it.
But
yes, fishy.
I think around this,
woo,
where did I have it? Just at the bottom of these candles here, if it gets around there.
So bang, nailed it. Sorry to do that. Hey, Grinkers, Blue Collar Crypto. Hey, hang on, I'm coming over to get off screen share. Give me a second. But yeah, that was nailed it yesterday for the people on here yesterday who got Fisher's 60-second TA. I should start videos called 60-second TA. Support, go for it. Blue Collar Crypto said, hey, if you feel like taking a look at a coin today, DMT just got listed on Bittrex, D-Market. Something about video game tokens. Market has been wild today. Yeah, it is down a little bit. Let's have a look at the overall market, Joey, and see how things are going. Great call on PIV, mate. It's always a great call on PIV, Nige. It's not a hard one for me. I always like it. But no, I did have a look at 60 seconds to the moon. 60 seconds to the moon. Fishy's 60-second analytics video. But guys, when you are looking longer term, like you saw how we did that replay on the video just then, how easy it was to line up those points of support and go, okay, bang, 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 and that's over an 18-month history. So good time period. Step back from the charts. Get out to those dailies. That'll help you a lot. Matter of fact, I'll pop back over to screen share and we'll have a quick look at that same PIVX chart again, and you can see that we broke through nicely from those lows. So I just had the PIVX chart up over here. But you can see we were talking about these being the low points yesterday, and it was probably on the low point yesterday when we were talking about it. So it's been a good, at least 10% gains for anyone who got in at that point. Probably a little more against Satoshi value, but good to see for the Pivians. Purple day. So nice to see, but you can see again, if we just line up these points of support from that last little wick candle thing there, hits the bodies 1, 2, 3, gives us not, and even over here we got a little down and then up again. So you've sort of got quite a few supports being tested several times at that sort of Satoshi value at 40,000. So if you ever get it that cheap, my personal analytics, 60 seconds fishy analytics says that it doesn't spend a whole lot of time below that line. So if you can get it around that, 40, 42,000, even up to 45,000, you'll see it's pretty good buying historically. If you're playing against Bitcoin and Satoshi. So there you go. Good to see for Pivians. Okay, just what I want to have a look at now is the overall market, which is unfortunately not so healthy. We're just going to do a quick update there. Just starting to come back to a little bit of green in this last hour. Guys, I did make a buy on Bitcoin. I haven't done it for a while. Bought at 7,860. I was trying to wait for 7.8, but if you can spend all day for sitting there for 1%, very, very good for you. But I wasn't putting in enough money to make that worthwhile. So I copped it at 7,860. I'm down a little bit from there, but happy with that. That's my first of several buy-in points that I have up my sleeve, depending on what altcoins do as well. Ethereum's come down quite a lot. And we were talking about the Neo Ethereum ratio yesterday, and that's actually stretched even further. Even though Neo's gone down, Ethereum's actually gone down even further. So I'm not sure whether I've actually picked up quite a lot of Neo through my trading. Q-Link has been one that's been doing really, really well against the trend. It was up to sort of 17 cents last time I checked this morning, great from those 9-10 cent lows. And I did actually speak about it in my first video or second video back from my holiday only a week ago. So almost 2x for those people who got in on those lows. But because of my trading, which is only a small fraction of my Q-Link because I like the project, strategic investor long-term there. But I am thinking about putting some Neo back into Ethereum on these lows. We will see what happens. I'm still making my decision. But hey, checking out my last big move, which was, my two biggest holdings in the economy, Icon and PIVX. Icon had that run up to about $3.70, $3.80, and actually surpassed the price of PIVX at the time, which was at $3.50. And at that point, I actually took 20% of my Icon holdings and I sold it. Sorry, but we still haven't got a mainnet yet, so I'm bullish on it for the future. Don't get me wrong. It's just it seemed like a good opportunity to get back into PIVX at cheap prices for me. So I used the ratio of Icon to PIVX, and it surpassed 1-to-1. Icon being worth more than PIVX at one stage per coin, that is. And I've done very well with that, with PIVX gaining 8.84%, just coming back with the rest of the market. And after, pretty good gains, obviously in the last 24 hours, quick spike. Nice to see. Let's hope we can sustain it up there above that 50,000 Satoshi support level. And, well, we'll see if there's one there before I talk about 50,000 support. Not really. You can see here after the dips down, it does often come back and test 50. So we were talking about these dips being your low. It's come back, tested 50, come back, tested, well, broke through 50. But yeah, it can test 50 and bounce. It's done it once or twice. So perhaps holding above 50 would be a good sign. I'd say, if we could actually break above this level here, this sort of 55 level, and hold above it, maybe even 60, then we could have some really good growth from there. But that's just based on charting, nothing else. Although I think, this zPOS, for those of you who don't know, that it is the same way that we were the first proof of stake coin to implement zero coin protocol. We are now the first proof of stake coin to allow you to stake your anonymous coins, your zero coin protocol coin, zPIV. So I think there's reason for the increase in our price, and it is on the eve of the process, which will take about 9 days. But it is on the eve of the process of that happening. So I think that's the reason for the PIVX spike, people getting excited about another PIVX first. If you go back to when we actually released zPIV, we had a really, really good run until we had some problems with our wallet. And I think that was around here, possibly. I think. And then, yeah, it might have been around here, and it spiked up and then went down with the market. But then we also had some problems with our wallet. So all going well. Hopefully we can continue an upward trend this time on some exciting new developments at PIVX. Good to see. All right, let's have a look what else we've got over here. What else have we been keeping an eye on? Hey, Litecoin. I think it's going to struggle to recover. I've sold out the majority of mine, if I'm being honest. And only because the LitePay thing is, I still think Litecoin's decent technology, but there is an element of irresponsibility about the fact it was backed without the proper due diligence being done by the Litecoin Foundation and in particular Charlie Lee. I'm a big Charlie Lee fan, but I know he admits himself that it was a mistake. But at that level of influence in the crypto economy, and when one word from you can actually swing the entire market, I believe due diligence is very, very important. So perhaps Charlie, I'm sure he didn't mean it. I think he's a decent guy. I just, it was a little irresponsible in the markets, being a little unforgiving on that. One of the top losers in the last 24 hours in that top 20. Just saying, there's not much green around. Tron's holding strong this week, up 12%. Still lower than where I got it airdropped though. I sold it off at 5 cents when I got it airdropped, and I got into Icon at, I think it was $1.20 when it first hit markets. So I'm still pretty happy with that decision. And then of course some of that Icon went into PIVX recently on the run up. So traded my way up nicely on that one. Hey, Liska's broken that $10 mark on the downside. I thought $10 might act as support just as the US dollar figure. It hasn't. And Liska's had a really tough time of it lately. A lot of people were hanging out for that rebranding, and a lot of people, including myself, did actually sell into that event. I've just actually bought my first list back since the big run up, and since it going stupidly parabolic. I still think it's really well set up in Europe in terms of a protocol. Same sort of thing as Ethereum and Neo and Icon. I think regionally they're set up well in Europe. So Lisk is one that I'm holding. I'll be interested to see what applications are planned for the remainder of 2018 and going forward. Just seeing what else. Verge just had a lot of positive support recently, but taken a big hit in the last 24 hours. Still up 15% over the last 7 days. So for me, it's getting back. I still think I still thought that ratio with Verge to PIVX was wrong. That's the main reason I dropped my Verge, is to get more PIVX at those lows. So you don't always have to be looking at Bitcoin and US dollar. You can be looking at, especially if you've got a long-term accumulation strategy for your favorite coin. I quite often look at the prices relative to PIVX. So when PIVX dips right down, I'm looking at everything that's had good run-ups and pretty much selling it off. Steam's continued to drop down to $1.72. Still think this is going to prove to be good long-term buying. Hard to tell the short term. We're just seeing what else we got here. Komodo, who have they partnered up with? I can't remember. I'm sure it's a payment system. Not Monet's, another one. I believe there's a decentralized ICO coming out on the Komodo platform soon-ish. I'll have to do some more research on that. Something I only heard briefly. Sorry to give you half news there. Not a lot of green, unfortunately, for the day, for the week. Not looking really strong, unfortunately. So could we be back on our way down to sort of a 6,000 Bitcoin price? And obviously, given the correlating performance of the market at the moment, obviously altcoins would be likely to bleed along with it. Do we think that's possible, or do we think we're going to bottom at 7.8? What was it at? Was it at 7.8 So it's hit that 7.8 support a couple of times. It's building pressure to break through, but if we can, the more times we bounce off it, the stronger it gets as well. But the bounce off 7.8 this morning has not been anywhere near as ferocious as the one yesterday. So I'm not sure. All right, come back to the chat, saying what everyone's up to, giving you some fodder, some ammunition, some things to talk about. Jeff Stanton said, a thumbs up from Crypto Martian, mate. Good on you, Jeff Stanton. Well done, mate. Thumbs up from everyone, hopefully. Hourglass, holla. How are you, mate? So Hourglass, just on Neo itself, what do you reckon, $52? Try that $52 support out again. We had a look at the charts yesterday and looked like it hit it a couple of times. So strong bounces off 52 twice historically, maybe a third. Depends on the whole market as a whole, though, I think, as well. Mark G says, hodl. Mark G, I don't think I've seen you for a while. How you been, man? Noddy O, up. I bought bumper bars. Don't know what that's about, Noddy. We should change the name from fish to whale. What up with PIVX? Up $1 today. Yeah, it's done well, Mark G. We're pretty happy. We're on the evening of zPOS. So we're doing the change of wallets at the moment. So zPIV will become, we're turning it off as of tomorrow. And then we will be upgrading wallets on the 31st to the 3.1.0 wallet. And then on the 4th or the 7th of April, I'll have to double check that date, we actually turn on zPIV staking. So that's the reason, mate. We're starting that process. The market's obviously, well, I imagine is responding to that. That's the most obvious thing for me. Besides the fact that it's an awesome coin and it got too cheap. And Fish said buy it under $4 and you'll be happy. Noddy said buy BCC under $500. Roger's taking orders. Yeah. I don't buy any Bitcoin Cash though, Noddy. Everything will go down. Olita, even VeChain under $3. Yeah, could do. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt further retracements in this market. If you guys think this is a crypto winter or a crash, it's really not just yet. You know, we have seen crashes historically of 80, 90% on Bitcoin itself. So we're not quite, like, it's been I guess it's been sort of a crash, but it's certainly not as significant as we've seen percentage-wise historically. So it can actually, I hate to be the one telling you this, but it can still get worse. But that's why we always say only invest what you can afford to lose. But, you know, the other thing we talk about as well, the rest of the market's fearing, it's a good time to be buying. I've started this morning. I'm going to keep an eye on it and see how it goes. If it drops lower, buy some more. Got my points preset so that I don't bring emotion into it. You know, within 1%, like I did this morning, on a long-term strategy where we've got a volatility of potentially 300% or even 400% by the end of the year on the upside, if you believe the bullish predictions, I can drop 1%, and I'm not going to sit there all day on a buy-in that's not big enough to make 1% worthwhile. But I did have a set thought of 7, 8. And then we'll see. I think $6,000 is possible. I'll definitely have one there, but I'm probably going to look for a point between 6 and 7, 8 as well. I'll go and have a look at the charts when I can be bothered. But yeah, that's basically my strategy. I've just started hitting it, so we'll see what happens. I could be a bit early. I often do that. You guys remember? You probably don't remember this, but a lot of you are fairly new. But back 6 months ago, I talked about how I like to try and catch the falling knife. But, you know, the other thing is Warren Buffett talks about the fact that they are always buying. It's just they buy more when it's cheaper. They don't stop accumulating. They very rarely sell. So something to consider as well. That's why it's always good to keep it in budget as well, because you'll be surprised how much the economy can swing, both to the upside and to the downside. We saw the upside in December and even parts of early January in the altcoin market. And we've seen the downside swings that can happen and how ferocious they can be as well. But the point is that if you've always got some capital in reserve from profits you've responsibly taken on those parabolic run-ups, you actually don't mind a dip. I'm not hoping PIVX goes down by any stretch of the imagination, but considering our roadmap for 2018, I'm definitely wishing I'd converted a little more, but huge win for me. Only like a week ago, less than a week ago, I converted 20% of my icon holding into PIVX. Told you all I was doing it. Not that that affects markets, because as we've discussed before, my YouTube channel is just not big enough. Xiaozin, how are you, mate? What's been happening? Mark G dumped his Tron bag and bought Stellar Lumens with it. Lost 55% on Tron. Yeah, but Mark G, I think a consolidation's not a bad thing, because Stellar Lumens took a massive downturn during the overall market correction as well. Mark G said, I believe Charlie sold all his LTC and Vitalik sold 30,000 Ether because they had inside info Mt. Gox was going to start dumping. Interesting. I would hate to hear that about either of them. I don't want to see that sort of manipulation being. I don't want to see that sort of manipulation going on in the economy. There's no doubt it is, but we need to get that out if we're going to get taken seriously. Hourglass said BitConnect looking pretty good these days. Yeah, man, all-time lows. Go for it. Buy low, sell high. You know the game. That is, I need a sarcasm bell. Ding, ding, ding. For anyone who doesn't realise I'm mucking around. Plus, Mark G, just getting back to what you said before, I think I think Stellar Lumens is going to prove to be a good hold long term. Nodio's noticed a trend, or believes he's recognised a trend, that all privacy coins generally become a bit more stable during these times. Bitcoin going to 4,400 to 4,800, says Mark G. Low volume on BTC. What was the volume? That's a good point. I'm just checking now. 14.8. Yeah, so down a little from yesterday, I think. No, it's about the same as yesterday. Still up from the Friday, but yeah, we're not back to those, we're not even back to $20 billion a day volumes, let alone 40 plus, which we were seeing back in the bull times. So it's a good point. Neo may get under 50, maybe, says Nodio. It's interesting. It's a good range. So Nodio thinks 5,900 is bottom again. I got 5,800 last time, Noddy. I suppose it depends on the exchange, doesn't it? But Mark G thinks it's going to 4,400, 4,800. So it's a good range there for the bottom, and that's the thing. That's why we don't try and pick the bottom, because if you just look at two people who are involved in the crypto wave investment crew, they've got guesses that or predictions that vary by 25%. Interestingly enough, though, both on the low side. And I think that the bust of the 8,000 or the 7,800 on the downside, 7,800 specifically, because that seems to be the low end of that sort of reversal bracket. Yeah, if it breaks that on the downside, I'd be looking for 6. I didn't really see much between there. So I'll go and have a look again. I'll get a bit more into it, but 6 was a bit more obvious after the big candle down last time that it dropped really, really quickly. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I'll look for 6. Then just I'll follow my advice and keep some capital in reserve. I might look at specific altcoins for some of that capital and just keep some of it for rainy day. Grinker said, Fisher's YouTube channel, not the biggest, but the best. Well, I get to answer most of the questions. I don't always know the answers, but I do get to read most of them. I watch some of these other YouTubers, and it would be impossible. You can't even read one comment. You're like, phew. Thing is, for a month, with a few exceptions, it seems when BTC goes down X%, alts go down X plus %. Then when BTC goes up X%, all alts go up X minus Y%. Repeat. Results is alts bleeding out. Yeah, that's interesting, Mark G. If you put everything into BTC 2 months ago, I'd be down, but not down 75%. That's a really interesting perspective, and a good reason to look at those Satoshi prices when you are deciding on a coin, because if it's high historically Satoshi value, unless there's been a specific development, it is possible that you're buying, even if you don't feel like you're buying high on US dollar value, it is possible that that's not the best spend of your money. It might be better to buy the Bitcoin and wait for the, if you think the market's cheap, buy the Bitcoin and wait for the Satoshi price to get better value for the altcoin that you're trying to acquire. So yeah, it's a good point. You really have to take in, there's no formula. If there was, we'd all be rich. You got to take into account multiple bits of information and TA and all sorts of things. Market psychology, mass psychology, evolving mass psychology as the market gets smarter. There's lots of things that have got to be taken into account. But it is a good point, Mark G, that BTC seems to be look, if you're going to look for a safe haven in the economy, BTC is probably considered to most to be the safe haven. Now it's funny having a safe haven that can drop sort of 65% of its value within a few months, but I still think in terms of a store of value, it's probably the safest. May I move all my savings into PIVX? You guys know that. Big money buying Stellar Lumens OTC in New York. That's interesting. So OTC, I can't remember what the abbreviation stands for, but basically it's off the exchanges. So it'd be a brokered deal, where a crypto broker would actually, a financial institution or some institutional money says, look, we want $2 million worth of Stellar Lumens. Now, if you went to go and buy $2 million of Stellar Lumens off Bittrex or something like that, you'd move the market on that exchange significantly. So in bigger buys, you'll often see it being done OTC. I can't remember what it's called, but what it stands for, but it does mean that it's basically off the exchanges. Keep an eye on what holds stronger over the next week and doesn't drop much. These are the strong projects. Oh, you mean like PIVX, Noddy? Good pickup. No, that's a good point. When you'll see which communities have actually built a strong faith in the project and a strong belief in the project, and usually that comes through. I've talked about often before about why I don't think that DAG technology will all of a sudden just replace blockchain, and it's because of a lack of testing. Whereas in the blockchain, we've got testing since 2009 to prove its security. We don't have that with DAG technology. So I think that when you've got a community that's been developed for a longer period of time, they've been through the ups and downs before, and they've tried the technology. Like me, I'm running my PIVX wallet. I get staking bonuses. I can go to zPIV. I can go back into PIVX. I know the technology works. So I've got faith in. I know we've been through downtimes before, and I know Pivians are generally lining up to buy under $4 at the moment. So I have more faith in that project than a lot of the newer projects that I've invested in, just because I've worn more of these downtimes than what I have with other projects. And I obviously have more information and knowledge about what we're doing at PIVX as well. So yeah, I think it's a good indicator, Naudio, to actually look what retraces the least during the times of big market corrections, because it is a sign of community strength. Wrapping up my big blab point there, I could have done that much more elegantly in one sentence, couldn't I? Where can I get my BitConnect tattoo removed? Mark G? I really don't know. you have to speak to a tattoo removalist, I guess, mate, or get it covered. You know how they do those fixes. So maybe you could get it covered with like Fish Connect. Just big, that project I'm doing. Hourglass said BitConnect forever. All right, you guys are on BitConnect again. I wonder how long that'll be a joke for in the economy. Like in 10 years, will everyone be going, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Mark G said 6 for sure, talking about Bitcoin in terms of $6,000. So I mean, most people have actually got fairly bearish predictions, and that's sometimes the best time to take a contrarian point of view, because most people will tell you, but yeah, I wonder, I think it'll go to 20, 30 grand as well. So if you're trying to pick, that's why I jump in now, because it's hard to pick exact paths, right? So I've said for a long time that I thought $6,000 could be retried again. We can go back on my videos and see that, but I'm prepared just in case we don't retest that line of support. That move of moving all but XMR into Tether saved my soul. Has moved me up 3% in a day. I will wait until 65 to 6,200. I'm so good at praying. If it fails, there's always wine. Yeah, no, good point, Noddy. And well done on the move yesterday. Look, for me, the potential downside, like I'd taken a lot of fiat out before I went to Japan. I'd taken a lot back into fiat before I went to Japan. So for me, I'm actually like looking for good lows to stock up on. So while you've moved into fiat, I've actually just started buying that back off you. Only just my first buy. We'll see what happens. If it drops lower, I'll buy more. It'll be interesting to see which way it goes. Neo may get under $50, $35 Neo, the absolute lowest at Hourglass. So I think that's where it was at the end of last year, if I'm not mistaken. The end of 2017, it was around that $35 mark, was it not? Not 100% sure. EOS is a good example. I know you don't like it, but it went from 120 sats to 55 support recently and bounced up. The dollar value, not good. Sats, not SARS. Yeah, I got you, man. Toronto had SARS, wasn't good. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's a typo you don't want to make when you're talking Satoshi, especially in some Asian countries. We actually looked it up when we were in Japan, because a lot of the people in Japan wear the face masks, especially around the city, around Tokyo. And we looked up, like, why do they wear them? And it turns out it's, well, they may not know this, but it's not to necessarily protect yourself, because those surgeons' masks don't do shit. All they do is stop the surgeon's bacteria, airborne, being breathed on a patient when they've got an open wound. So people wear them in Japan if they're sick, or they think they might be getting sick, to stop the rest of the population getting sick. How good's that? In Australia, we just go, stuff it. Whatever. I'll take a sickie. Like, I'm not going to work, but I'm going to the bloody pub. I ain't wearing no bloody sock over my face. That would be an Australian's attitude. And Japanese are like, you know what? I might make someone else sick, so I better be. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, sorry to get off track there. I just saw the SARS thing and went on a rant. That's not unusual here if you are a first-time watcher. And if you are a first-time watcher, please feel free to subscribe. Harry Taylor Fish, ever watched the American Dream video on YouTube? It's a cartoon but gives newbies a basic knowledge on the start of fiat currency after gold. Yeah, well, fiat currency essentially died the day it wasn't tied to gold. That's my personal opinion. I've got one hold that will never go down. 200,000 digital rupees at 0.0001 sat. We're all living the dream. It can still go down. It can, because you still need someone to pay 1 sat for it. Someone says, no, I'm not paying that. So it can absolutely go down. I know what you're saying, but, you know, the Bitcoin's, you know, the fractions on the exchanges they can easily start adding extra zeros to cater for the fact that Bitcoin's price has gone exponential. You know, if Bitcoin goes to 100 grand, doesn't mean that digital rupees are going to increase at the same rate as Bitcoin. Once they've hit that 1 sat, that's as low as they can go. That's not really true. We could see 1/10 of a sat in the future. Pivians, hadn't heard that before. Love it. Yeah, it's what we call ourselves, Mark G. The Pivians. Yeah, no, it's a good community. And that's the thing. Like, we have our motto is somewhat Nike-esque, I guess, and it's a little bit rude. But it's JFDI, which is just effing do it. So it's kind of the motto of a decentralized autonomous organization, where it's like, if you've got a good idea, if you've got something that can really transform PIVX, just fucking do it. That's it. This is not about, it's not about power struggles and that sort of thing, which you can often find in centralized organizations. So it becomes less about that and more about just improving the coin that we are all just choosing as our preferred cryptocurrency. So yeah. And that's why I say, if you've got a great idea and you want to be involved in the PIVX project, come over and pitch it at PIVX. Tell us how much you need. We do budget. You can put in a budget proposal every month. Pivians vote. You tell us how much you need, you might be getting a PIVX budget if you've got a really good idea. Noddy said maybe this fall we'll finally get rid of about 700 projects that are just shit, even though there are heaps more too. Maybe 400 worth will look at a stretch. Yeah, we'll see what happens. You know what I've looked at more and more recently is companies that could exist outside of blockchain using blockchain as the payment method. And that's the thing. Like they talk about, oh, well, we cut out the middleman. You can do that with Ethereum or Litecoin or PIVX. You don't need to go and create another coin. You just use that as the payment system. Then everything's on chain. Everyone can see every payment going back and forth. So I don't think some of the currencies that have been created with specific use cases, and the only difference is that they're cutting out the middleman. Perhaps that could be done with an existing currency already and just remodeling that business to actually accept crypto. And perhaps that's more productive than creating new coin after new coin after new coin. And where does it end? I mean, that essentially is the inflation of the crypto economy. We talk about how we don't have inflation. Yes, we do. I watched Andreas Antonopoulos talk about it on a video this morning. We do have inflation in terms of airdrops and forks, and that is inflating and making cryptocurrency less, as a whole, less scarce. Each specific currency isn't necessarily becoming less scarce, but it does have an effect on the economy when you're airdropping and forking all the time. So it's something to consider as well. Everyone who's sitting back with Bitcoin just going, keep forking, I'm getting all these airdrops and I'm getting all these dividends. Well, in crypto, each dividend you receive in terms of airdrops and forks somewhat detracts from the, it detracts from the your initial investment. If there's money going into buying those things, it's money that can't go into buying Bitcoin, right? It's buying the fork version. So it can actually stunt and hurt the main chain. Friend recommended I buy Neo at 140. I didn't. It went to 60 almost instantly. Mark G, it's a good point. It's a good time to point out that I'm not a financial advisor as well. So yeah, I mean, it's good to take in market sentiment, but you've got people, and Wilkie's a legend, don't get me wrong, and he's a bloody good trader, but he's a permabull. And what do I mean by permabull? I mean that Wilkie can trade the crap out of Satoshis. Like he can trade an altcoin to BTC like a bloody genius. But when it comes to realizing when the market as a whole is overheated, he's a permabull. Nah, this technology is changing everything. It's going to go for it. It's not, always thinks it's, okay, Icon hit $10, $12. I'm like, can you believe it's hit that so quick? He's like, going to 30 next, going to 50, going to 100. I'm like, well, yeah, but nothing does this. Can we start talking about perhaps some exit strategies for some of our investment, which obviously you should have before even getting into the investment. But yeah, you do get permabulls who are just constantly bullish about the technology and the potential for the future. Don't get me wrong, I am, but I'm more realistic about price action. Nothing moves in straight lines. And trust me, the people who have made a fortune on this last bull run, like made really significant money and then come back down to not much more than when they first got involved, they are going to be feeling the burn because they will have sit there and they will have told their friends that I made $100,000 in cryptocurrency when they didn't cash anything. Like, what have I said a million times? Until you have realized profit and actually taken it back into fiat, you haven't made shit. And it's always a good thing to remember. So these people who have sat there, told all their mates they've made $100,000 or $1 million or 10 grand or 5 grand or whatever it might be, and it's a lot of money to them. And then the market's slowly eating that away to the point where, that $100,000 for a lot of people in this market would be worth $25,000 now. You're talking about, 75% reductions across the board on a lot of coins anyway. So that person will have experienced that pain, and that pain will be seared in their brain. And I guarantee you next time that the market goes bullish, they will be more responsible. So I don't think it could be a little bit, hopefully a bit steadier growth next time it happens, but we'll see what happens. Do Pivians have a greeting like a Morks, Nanu Nanu, or Spock's split hand? We'll have to come up with one, Nodio. I was thinking of doing like a PIVX handshake, and we come up with the PIVX handshake, but I just keep going to comedic effect, and it was going to be like 50 moves long. and involved several illegal gestures during the during it. Okay, moving on. Harry Taylor said, can't post the link, brother, on YouTube, but search the American Dream video on YouTube. I think you'll find it funny, but a great video to educate your dumbed down friends. Sometimes you need a carts. I'll have a look at it. Blockchain removes the monarch, says Mark G. But previous to that, he said, people, the masses, never had to or wanted to think about what fiat actually is. Monarchs only go into fiat at the request of the peons. Then they discovered how to benefit from it. Interesting. Interesting point of view. What was something else I wanted to have a look at? Oh, yeah, there's some news come out just in the last 4 hours or so regarding European Union and the European market watchdog increasing requirements for crypto financial derivatives. So what I'm going to do is bring you over to screen share and have a quick look at this article. Pump. And we can see what we think about it. Yes, so as I said, European Union markets watchdog increases requirements for crypto financial derivatives. So what does this mean? The European Securities and Markets Authority, ESMA, has strengthened requirements for contracts for differences, CFDs, in cryptocurrencies, as stated in an announcement on March 27th. CFDs are an arrangement in a futures contract whereby differences in settlements are made in cash payments rather than by delivery of physical goods or securities. It is considered an easier method of settlement, as all gains and losses are paid in cash. It also gives investors the same risk and benefits of a security without actually owning one. The EU regulator will change the leverage limit of cryptocurrency CFDs to 2-to-1 at opening. This means that the investor must have enough funds to cover at least half of a contract value upon opening. Initially, the leverage limit was fixed at a rate of 5-to-1, which allowed investors to enter the deal with only 20% of the CFD's value on hand. So obviously I'd say they're probably tightening that up due to the volatility. So a lot of people probably got pretty wrecked in the recent downturn with taking 5-to-1 leverage. Yeah, taking 5-to-1 leverage on a 60, 70% downturn is going to sting. Anyway, moving on. In January 2018, ESMA issued a call for evidence regarding potential interference with digital currencies, CFDs, claiming that a very high price variation of cryptocurrencies as underlying assets gave rise to concerns for investor protection. Kind of echoing what I just said. In the most recent statement, ESMA highlighted that cryptocurrencies still pose risk to investment operations and require more cautious monitoring. The position of ESMA is shared by other regulatory agencies in EU member states. In February, the French financial markets regulator, Autorité des marchés financiers, how'd you like my French, guys? AMF released a statement that cryptocurrency derivatives must be regulated under new EU financial reforms. Meanwhile, trading platforms offering cryptocurrency CFDs must be regulated and cleared under the European Market Infrastructure Regulation, EMIR. In the same month, the Austrian, not to be confused with my Australian accent, the Austrian finance minister proposed imposing regulations on cryptocurrency derivatives to prevent money laundering using digital currency. EU regulators have repeatedly warned consumers about the high risks associated with investing in cryptocurrency, emphasizing lack of protection and understanding, money loss, and problems with unregulated financial activity. So there you go. It's an interesting one. I think it's a good thing if they if they reduce the amount of leverage available. I am having trouble going back to my Google Hangouts. There we go. So yeah, that was one interesting article I had a look at overnight. There's a few that came out, but not a stack of news either way. Oh, sorry, skipped around. Noddy said, here's the bargain shop, a BTC 59. So 5,900. LTC is going to stop at 70. This is Noddy. He's not a financial advisor. Predictions. Bitcoin Cash at 450. Who cares, Noddy? Can you bring up coins that people care about, please, mate? Now at 47. Ven at $2.50. ICX at $1.90. PIVX at $50. Yeah. You know, someone actually got some sales on PIVX at $50 when it first hit Binance. When it first hit Binance, the FOMO was real, and it went to float. It spiked very, very quickly to $50 against Ether. Incredible. But yeah, no, I what's the market doing now? I'll do a quick update. Let me just have a look. 296.464. Yeah, it's pretty steady. It's pretty steady. Bit of grain in the last hour, actually, guys. But you know, coming off the back of a pretty hectic downward 24 hours. Not hectic, but you know, enough. So a little bit of grain coming back in the last hour, as usual. The effect that I have on the market. Mark G, my portfolio way down, but found 1,000 ICX I forgot I bought. Feels like free money, even though even though in reality I didn't. That's clever, Mark G. Just losing 1,000 ICX that were valued at $12 at their peak. Oh, I forgot about that 12 grand I had. Oh, by the way, BCC isn't BitConnect. Oh, it's Bitcoin Cash. Okay, cool. BCC's actually been listed for both, depending on which exchange. I've seen both traded as BCC, although I don't know how many are trading BitConnect. Superheart.org is on IOST Tron are flying. Nice to see it. PIVX greeting wrap? Maybe. I might do one soon. But superheart.org, did you see the news on Litecoin with LitePay? Not good for the Litecoin supporters, man. Basically, that dude, Azores, Kenneth Azores, the guy who started LitePay, just perhaps oversold his capabilities. And now he's trying to sell the company. So that sucks. And the reason it sucks is because Litecoin is still just as good a coin as it was before that. But the fact that Charlie Lee and the Litecoin Foundation somewhat backed the idea and the project would have investors questioning somewhat the ability to make decent decisions about the, you know, partnerships going forward for Litecoin. Oh, carts mean cartoons. Okay, ran out of space. Sorry. Love your knowledge. Think you will love the video on a way to reach friends that don't have critical thinking skills some have. Humor wins the day for some. Oh, absolutely. Humor wins the day for most. It's pretty much what I've ever, you know, no surprise. Anytime a girl's actually liked me, it's not been because of my looks, because I'm funny. The worst part is I don't even know I'm being funny. I'm just saying stuff that actually comes into my head and they go, ha, it's hilarious. I'm like, oh, I could be a bit twisted. Jow, I believe we could see ETF this year for Bitcoin. If that happens, it will change the whole game for sure. ETF. Trying to remember what that stands for as well. A new friend of mine got into Dash in a big way at 50 cents. Got his non-tech friends in at $3. I seek out all crypto looking for a coin like that. Don't look too much further, Mr. Mark G. PIVX is pretty good, man. Like a lot of people talk about Dash back at those prizes, and you know, you could have got, it was only what, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, you could have got a Dash Masternode for $2,000. Now it'll cost you $500,000. But PIVX, the reason I like PIVX is because I just think dreams of getting into these cheap ones and making you millions overnight and retiring, it's a bit pie in the sky. Whereas PIVX offers a long-term goal for smaller people of accumulating enough to one day run your own masternode. And you do that by staking what you do have and by accumulating when you do have some spare money. I think that's a reachable goal for most people. And even if they never get there, they're still earning residual on the PIVX that they do have. The problem with running that strategy for Dash now is that if you never get there, There ain't no staking for 3 Dash. You can stake 3 PIVX, you can't stake 3 Dash. So because PIVX has gone up, I feel, against a downward market, I feel okay about having the bulk of the chat about PIVX today. But the economic model of PIVX, and not just in being a point as a proof of stake system, and not requiring miners, but the economic model in PIVX itself is somewhat revolutionary in that the supply of our currency is based on the demand for its use. Now, let me explain a little bit about what that means. Basically, as in most currencies, we have a block reward with each block. Now, whenever I send a PIVX transaction, you guys see me talk about the transaction fee, right? The 0.00002 PIVX that I have to spend to send it instantly. So that fraction of a cent, when I send it, actually gets burnt from our supply. That's gone. Doesn't exist anymore. So it doesn't go to, miners or anything like that. We do have new PIVX being created in the block rewards. But the point is when PIVX spending gets to a certain point, so i.e. so many transactions are going through in each block, it actually causes deflationary pressure on our coin. And when you think about it, that's exactly what governments are trying to do. That's essentially what governments claim they're trying to do and reserve banks in controlling the money supply in the economy. So you think about it, if a lot of people are spending, the government wants to cool it down. So what do? They reduce the supply, which is essentially, or they probably don't reduce it, they just don't flood it as heavily as they usually do. But that's what PIVX does by itself automatically within our algorithms, because if we're having enough transactions come through, it can get to a point where the transaction fees per block are more than the actual PIVX being generated through the creation of that block, meaning our circulating supply goes down. Now, if the circulating supply goes down and the demand stays the same for PIVX, the per coin price goes up, right? And what does that cause people to do? That causes people to go, no, I don't want to spend it, I want to hold it, it's going up. And what happens then is that the way it works is that then, no, well, hang on, these blocks are still getting created. And now the transaction fees aren't, okay, so the circulating supply is going to increase now, because now the amount being created in each block is higher than the amount of PIVX being burnt, the amount of PIV being burnt, I should say, with all the transactions. So it's a self-regulating economy in terms of inflationary, deflationary pressures. And it kind of works perfectly. So, yeah, I think it's, one of the intricacies of PIVX that's quite often overlooked. PIVX is seen as a privacy coin. That's it, right? Privacy proof of stake. There's so much more to it than that. And that's one of the things. I think that's a pretty important one. And any of you who are aware of economics and have done a little bit of research into economics, and anyone who can basically just understand logic can understand how that's going to work. So, if the amount of PIVX being minted is outweighing the transaction fees, it encourages people to spend them. If it goes the other way, it encourages them to save it. So it balances itself, which is really, really nice. Anyway, moving on. Thank you for letting me have my PIVX wrap. I do feel it's warranted today, given that it's moved 8% upwards against the market. So, Joe said, hey, just tuned back in, been doing some more research on DMT. I humbly put in another check out this coin request. Let's do it, Joey. Before I check out DMT, going to come over to screen share. Money, I just want to read these comments first, and then we're doing DMT. Nadia said, I'm a financial advisor, but I told my bank manager to F off. Yeah, I told my bank to F off as well. They're not really loving me at the moment. Money laundering estimated at $2 trillion a year. Crypto estimated to be 2.5% of that. And when friends FUD crypto, tell them their own bank launders more money than crypto. Mark G, I did a documentary on it. The top 5 crypto myths, and one of them was that cryptocurrency is used for money laundering. And I found articles in Australia where like $500 million a day, or no, there's $5 million a day, so $1.5 billion a year is being laundered through Australian banks, drug money too. Anyway, so yes, it's a valid point. I'm going to have a look at this DMT thing that Joe wants to have a look. DMT's going to the moon, he reckons. I don't even know what it is. All right, we'll have a look at it. We've done 60-second fishy analytics. Now we can do a quick, very quick DMT review. Now, guys, as I always say when I'm doing this, please make sure to do a lot more research than what we're doing at the initial look in the... Oh, Joey. Who's going to buy into something who's just gone 200%, mate? You could have told us this yesterday. Okay, my gains might be modest 8%, but at least it was in before the race was run. My personal thing is I don't buy into parabolic. That's parabolic. So straight away on the charts, I'm just a little concerned. The market cap's going to be at $1.22 multiplied by the total supply of 56 million. That's as good as gauge we can get at the moment. So you're looking at a total market cap of, you know, roughly 70 million US dollars. I don't even know what it's about. We're about to find out. In terms of Satoshi, it's 15,574 Satoshi, 271,444 Vitalics, up 200% across the board. Huge growth. I'd love to know what's actually happened to cause that growth. I mean, there's got to be an announcement or something. Otherwise, it's a pump and it's something you don't want to invest into straight away. It's something you want to wait till it settles down, unless there's been an announcement or something. Okay, so this is the virtual assets. Okay, it reminds me a lot of wax. So you can, yeah. So these are the things you can buy. Clutch case. I don't know. See, I don't know what any of these games are, but you know, people buy knives and guns and stuff. $3.46. You see there. So the token's obviously just facilitating that transaction would be my best bet. Video gaming platform. What's this have above wax, Joey? I'll ask you that now, and I'll read your comment when we get back. And is this one of those, you know, Steam, the video game platform, just accepts Litecoin? Could this potentially run without the actual token and just run using Litecoin or PIVX for that matter? But my point is, does it really need its own currency? This is one of the things I've been thinking about more and more recently. Just saying, these are their partners, are they? Latest news, here we go. Best indie games coming in 2018. Okay, so they're doing independent gaming. The fame and popularity of indie games is spreading like wildfire, and rightly so. There are no longer the simple pixel platforms that were associated with an individual developer previously, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm not big into video games, but, you know, I made a stack of money on, what was that VR company? Voxels. I bought Voxels when it was a $2 million market cap and it spiked at like 120 million or something. So I'm not an idiot. I know the rest of the world's into video games. I just don't know what's, like, it's hard for me to make a comparison of this to Wax, for example, and which one's better. Just trying to see if the team is listed here at all. Purchase order notification card. These are the partners: Unity Technology, Pantera. Stay tuned. Frequently asked questions. I can't see the team here. I'll just go back to no. Yeah, but I guess the first thing I can think that might be different between that and Wax is that it's allowing, like, it sounds like it's allowing like application development, like gaming application development on there as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. I'm coming back to the chat so you can tell us what you like about D market. For me, I'm not jumping on the back of something that's gone 200% that day. That's sell time, not buy time, generally speaking. Could be completely wrong on that. Could just keep mooning. I've seen it before. Oh, okay, yeah, ETF, Exchange Traded Fund. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. No worries. New listing on Bittrex for DMT? Okay. Well, that's good. What's their availability like? That's a good point. Just going to have a quick look myself. Markets, because that's probably potentially something that was holding back, what do you call it? Wax. It was only listed. Bittrex, Upbit, Tidex, IDEX, Dobit, for Delta. Yeah, I mean, that's Upbit's obviously a fairly big exchange, but Bittrex is going to help that out a lot. You know, the funny thing is though, the volumes essentially higher than the overall market cap. So the whole, yeah, that's an incredibly high trade volume, and it can signal not necessarily good signs, but signs of manipulation. Not necessarily by anyone involved in the team there, just a possibility. But no, a Bittrex listing is obviously going to help. If it's only been available on Upbit really previously, that could be part of the reason for the increase in the value. I still think 70 million market platform might be, I don't know. It looks pretty neat and everything. Just sorry, I was just looking at it again. We'll see. We'll see, Joey. Can I earn tokens playing Donkey Kong? Said Mark G. If I could earn tokens from playing the theme song from Tetris in my head, I'd be a quadrillionaire. Oh man, hours spent playing Tetris. I really didn't know much about it. I like that it was listed on Bittrex today. They seem to have a unique use case. Yeah, a little bit unique, but Wax are doing it as well. So perhaps not a completely saturated use case, but Wax are doing the same thing. Wax have been around for a while too. And their website's pretty good. And you can also trade crypto animals over there, not just gaming, avatars or skins. But I don't know, Joey. Like for me, it's probably something I'm going to lose interest in because I'm not into gaming. And see, the thing for me is if you were into gaming, it's something you could potentially roll the dice on because you go, oh, well, worst comes to worst, I can still spend it. You know, I can buy things that I actually use. For me, I'm not going to buy video game guns and video game knives and skins or whatever they call it. It's never going to be something I'm going to do. So for me, the use case of that actual token is not great. So it'd just be speculative investing for me, which I'm trying to get a little bit away from. So, you know, like I talk about buying Steam because you've got use cases. I talk about the exchange coins, Binance and KuCoin shares because they've got use cases for me. I talk about PIVX because of the use cases for me. So it's a real personalized thing in some respects. And for that reason, it'd be one that I would be leaning away from simply because I'm not a gamer. PIVX at 415. Nice to see it holding strong in a down market. Good to see, Noddy. I thought below $4 was good buying, man. I think it will prove to be good buying long term. Sure. Take a screenshot of the top 20 tokens today. Then look in a year from now. Make sure you have half of the top 20. If so, you'll be 10x minimum. 10x, 3 trillion. Maybe. That's a big call, man. Yeah, like 3 trillion is a lot of money. I was thinking like 1 to 1.5 by that sort of time. Metcalfe's law inspires me when my portfolio is down, says Mark G. Thanks for the words about DMT. I'll keep an eye on it, playing around with a little on Bittrex. Hashtag minute trading. Yeah. No worries, Joey. Yeah, man, like if you're a gamer though, like if it's something you're actually going to use, it might be a good buy because like I said, even if it goes down, you can still use it. You know, just it's the same as how your Australian dollar doesn't necessarily buy as many loaves of bread as it, you know, $5 doesn't buy as many loaves of bread as it did 5 years ago. It's a risk that I'm taking by holding Australian dollars, but I can still spend it if worst comes to worst, right? Same sort of thing with crypto. If you take that, okay, the fluctuations are in a shorter time period and a lot more aggressive, but That's just the attitude I take. That's why I try and buy tokens I can use. And that's why I hold a lot of protocols as well, because I do like to invest in ICOs. So it makes sense for me to hold Icon, Neo, Ethereum. Anyway, I'm going to check out. Is like Bronson's Murphy's Law. That's not it. Anyway, I'm going to check out, guys. Thanks for tuning in for the crypto conversation today. A reminder to all PIVX holders who do have the wallet, please make sure your zPIV has been converted back into PIV as soon as possible, within 24 hours. And certainly looking forward to zPOS being up and running soon, allowing us all to stake our anonymous coins. Thanks for joining in. I'll be due for a day off soon, but probably going to see you again tomorrow. Take it easy. Fish out.